Why is it that we're sort of on this sort of knife edge, and we're just not finding the thing that's getting us to the other side of it?
Because I think we're playing like Nuno wants us to play. So what I mean by that is he is always risk averse. He always was at Wolves. He was at Valencia. But the difference was at Wolves, he had two players, Moutinho and Neves, who were incredible passers of the ball. So they could distribute very accurately from midfield up to the forward line. And he loves having runners like Sonny and Lucas and Bergwijn, to go and pick those balls up. And we don't have the passers. Højbjerg and Skip just don't have that ability. And I think part of our problem is that we're playing Skip with Højbjerg. And I really like Skip. I love what he does. I'd like us to keep him in there. But I think we need to find someone else to replace Højbjerg. Not because Højbjerg is necessarily a bad player. It's just that you need someone else to complement what Skip does so that you can actually get a bit more distribution from a deeper.
But then we always played with two defensive midfielders when Poch was there. We'd have Dembele and Wanyama, but then Dembele could move forwards with the ball, close past 3 or 4 players, and then
that was the difference. Yeah, Dembele would take a player out and create space to then distribute it to someone else.
He could take 20 yards easily. Lost 2 or 3 players, but Skip won't do that. Højbjerg won't do that.
No. So they've got to pass it. If they're not carrying the ball, they've got to pass it, and they're not doing that.
Who do you pass it to? There isn't a player there that has.
This is the other
inherent sort of.
Exactly, because Dembele would always give it to Eriksen or Ali, and that would be it. But
exactly, we're quite clearly still hurting from the fact that we got rid of Eriksen, and he was never replaced. I mean, albeit his form at that time was.
Yeah, it's pretty poor. Yeah,
but. You would have him in the team now, wouldn't you?
I think you would. Why we didn't go for Bruno Fernandes, apparently that was on the cards, but I think Poch said no or something about it. I don't know.
So we went for Lo Celso instead, and
yes, apparently so. Yeah.
Although Fernandes ends up on the floor an awful lot,
like
Lo Celso, at least Fernandes scores goals. He creates things. He gets things moving in, and he's incredibly quick on the ball. Fernandes, he won't dwell on it like Dele Alli. He's, he gets the ball into his feet and he's looks up straight away. Where can I hurt the opposition? Where can I?
He's 2-footed. He's more balanced than Dele. Well, Dele's not even in our team, is he? So it's looks like it's curtains for Dele.
Yeah.
But
that's what happens. But I just think with our team, we've just got to probably get through another couple of transfer windows. Do we hold on to Nuno? I don't think we should. Not because he's a bad coach. I just don't think it fits. It's all square pegs in round holes at the moment.
Well, that's the thing. He was reportedly 7th or 8th choice manager, which
exactly.
Even from his perspective, do you reckon he wakes up in the morning and thinks, I'm the manager of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Hold on, I wasn't even the first fucking choice. It must well in the back of his mind the fact that we were openly going for 6 or 7 different managers before suddenly going for him.
Don't you think that also probably is in the back of the mind of all the players as well? Because they're thinking, well, if he's got a 2-year contract, we know he wasn't first choice. Is he going to be around for that much longer? All these things. I'm not saying the players are putting their, downing tools, but I think the players probably subconsciously think, well, what's really going on here? Can we really build something here? Do they believe in what Nuno's doing? And I think that's part of the problem as well. And that's exactly that's ultimately a board decision. That was a bad board decision.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think it was all based, the appointment of Nuno was just based upon what was a really good season and a half he had at Valencia, where he played, really decent, expansive, attacking football. But just coming back to what you're saying there about it must rest, sit in the back of the players' minds. You're constantly seeing stories coming out about, senior players aren't happy with the way Nuno communicates with the team, or they're not impressed with his techniques, etc. There's been too many of those stories recently. Whilst we all know that a lot of journalists make up a lot of shit, there's no smoke without fire, is there? So
not really. No.
It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, this team, there's, most of the team there were in the squad when Poch was there. They saw him off. Mourinho, they've seen him off, and they're thinking, well, we're still at the club. We're still earning decent money. We can see off whatever manager we want. This is just sort of.
I think it's a bit of a joke as well that we've got players like Lo Celso and Ndombele in who are both very talented, but they're not really working. And the guy that brought them in, Hitchin, he was apparently the guy that did the deals. Yeah. He's still there. I don't understand what he's still doing there. Has he got the negatives or something? I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it's all very, very strange, isn't it? And again, this just comes back to poor recruitment, doesn't it? Poor recruitment, poor choices from the board. It's just a catalogue of errors. I mean, we went for Gattuso, didn't we? And then suddenly there was the social media meltdown about comments that he'd made in the past. And then
that was so weird.
Suddenly they pulled the rug from underneath him. Did these people not do their due diligence or, know anything about football? Actually, no, they don't know anything about football, do they? Because the average fan on the road, on the street.
But even if you don't know anything about football, we've got a board, a club that tries to make out they're so woke and against discrimination, and then they look at Gattuso as an option. I mean, what the hell's going on there?
I was about to say. Actually, I was about to say we've got a board of great business people, but not necessarily great football people. But actually, some of the conversations we're having are actually just about being good in business, I suppose.
Yeah.
And that, I suppose, and that kind of just kind of falls foul of that. I guess therefore I'm a bit stuck, because I agree with what you're saying, which is why I think that the supporters board, or whatever they're calling it, will be a good thing. Not because you want a club that's run by a committee by 1,000 fans, because that would be horrendous. You never get anywhere. But actually, if you've got a bunch of dedicated Spurs fans, I'm not suggesting that Spurs fans are experts in everything, but why would you not want to say, okay, we've got this mechanism where we can canvass opinion and understand what's going on, and really think about, okay, there are people who will say, if you said to them, the next meeting's in 2 weeks, I'd like you to submit to us who you think our next top 3 or manager target should be and why. You ask, a couple hundred people that question, you'll get a broad, presumably some broad, I wouldn't say consensus is the wrong word, but at least you see a couple of names bubble to the top, and you see some things underneath, then you can have a conversation and go, okay, well, talk to me about that. You'd effectively have the most dedicated focus group in the world.
You probably would. I agree.
But you would.
Yeah. I mean, it's meant to be a fan advisory board, isn't it?
Fan advisory board.
So I think there's 3 that... Is it 3? I think there's 3 that sit on it, and then one of those actually sits on the executive board. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's basically, yes, you have a fan advisory. Yes, you're right. Fan advisory board, and that kind of aggregates up, and then
yeah. But, so it's a good structure. It's a logical structure, and I don't know. Well, I don't know why they haven't got it going.
Well, I mean, there are other questions around that, because, of course, then there's the politics between the trust and the club and everything else like that.
That hasn't helped. I agree. Yeah.
I mean, it's a nice idea in theory, but I mean, you've only got to go onto Twitter to see the constant arguments and disagreements between people that the club should have gone out and hired Conte. Yeah, Conte wanted over 10 million quid a year and probably about 200 million pounds a year to spend. So, whilst the fans will demand we want this manager in, the club has to.
Yeah, but Conte was never going to be a solution anyway, was he? Because
he's always a short-term measure.
Yeah, he's always a short-term measure. So whatever happened there, even if he won us every cup there was, which would have been fantastic, of course, we would have been left with, who do you have take over Conte and try and keep that going?
Yeah.
It's I think you're better off getting something a bit more progressive. you know, like a Potter or someone like that, because I can't really think of anybody else.
What, Harry Potter?
Yeah, Harry Potter. Yeah, we need a bit of magic.
we need a wizard at the helm, don't we?
We do. But you just need someone who's actually going to have a plan and take you forward. When you look at Liverpool and what they've done, you know, they went out, they got Klopp because they knew he was, you know, the best around at the time, the best available around at the time. They also went out and got the signings that they wanted for the squad. And you have to look back at that and think, we weren't far off that, but we just didn't make the right decisions in our recruitment, whether it be manager or players. And that's what we've got to get right. That's what Paratici has to get right now.
Yeah, we absolutely spanked them at Wembley, didn't we? And then suddenly, after that spanking, you know,
not long after,
obviously went off, made decisions, and thought, right, okay, yeah, we've got to halt this slump, and you know, they've overtaken us, haven't they?
They have, yeah, way overtaken us, yeah.
But the thing is, though, they've put the trust. They've clearly appeared to have put the trust in their manager. But do our board trust our managers? Do they trust them with signings? No. Because obviously they've got that committee, haven't they? The transfer committee.
They do, and I think that's part of the problem as well. My perception is that the board, as we were saying a few minutes ago, know nothing about football, but they try and make football decisions, and I think this is, this is a core fault of the board. So what they should be doing is just handing it over to people that can make decisions about the football side, and then they refer it back up to the executive board to actually make financial decisions. And I don't think that process really happens, because I think Levy gets too much involved in the football decisions.
Well, to some degree, that's why you hope that the introduction of Paratici's been brought in. I mean, I do appreciate that Daniel sits as the chair of the main board and the football board, but why would you bring in an MD of football if you're not going to listen to him seriously? And you kind of go, if he says, well, actually, I'm out of ideas now, and I've lost, and his industry credibility, I think, in this space is, waning, because he's been focused on his, on business projects, stadium and things like that. It's kind of like, all right, fair enough. But, it's one of those sorts of things where maybe he should have brought someone in at the same time as Poch or just after Poch, not to undermine him, but just to say we're focused on, we delivered the training ground, but my God, that was a ball ache. But now we're really focused on the stadium and everything else like that. So actually, I'm going to set you up so you've got everything you need to keep going. And as long as you operate within a window of this many hundreds of millions of pounds, we're all good. But of course, we are going to have all these meetings. But ultimately, I'm just going to steer clear of this because I've just got to build this thing over here. And had he done that back then, in that final, in that sort of final season, or maybe the season before, White Hart Lane, I think we'd be in a very different situation. I know hindsight's 2020 and all that crap.
No, but I think you're probably right. And Levy
he tries to do too much, and his interests aren't focused. His interests are rightly focused on the business elements because he's trying to make sure we're a financially viable club. That's not to say that excuses him from saying, "Oh, I'm not really focused on the football bit."
No, that's right. And Levy has admitted that he took his eye off the ball with the stadium, which is fair enough. At least he admitted that. But that is the root of where we're at.
Well, it's not though, because, and that's not me criticising you. That's me saying, as someone who's, he's a smart man, should just be like saying, I just need to make sure that if I'm going to be focused on choosing what colour the fucking buttons in the lift are, and what shade of yellow the ceiling is in the toilets is, I need to make sure that the bit that's the other bit of the business, that's the important bit for a lot of people, is well taken care of.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. No, definitely. So, did you have any points that you wanted to make, Jamie?
I think.
Do you have an on this day, or?
Do you know what? I don't have an on this day, and the source I was using for on this day I'm only going to be repeating the same stuff that I did sort of this time last year. So I think in terms of,
isn't that the beauty of On This Day though?